if an interstellar object whirling through our solar system is actually a nuclear-powered spacecraft sent by aliens to test how humans respond? That's what a noted astrophysicist believes might be the case. And he says an image from the Hubble telescope.
At the very moment the telescope data was transmitted back, the entire control room seemed to hold its breath. On the screen, a strange spectrum appeared, blazing brightly against the black backdrop of the universe. Instead of the usual traces of icy dust often seen in comets, that spectral line flared with metallic alloys never before recorded on Earth. The numbers scrolling across the control panel left the scientists in silence because they completely contradicted everything the textbooks had always affirmed. It was given the name 3I Atlas. Faced with this discovery, some experts suggested it could be the product of extreme cosmic processes such as a kilonova. But others dared to raise an even bolder hypothesis. Could it be an artificial object, perhaps even a message sent from another civilization? If that were true, then 3I Atlas would not simply be a wandering rock drifting through space, but a reminder that humanity is not alone. And the question that now emerges is 3I Atlas only a rare natural phenomenon or a sophisticated trace coming from another planet?
The play is not about us. We should be modest. We keep thinking that it's about us, but it's not. And we better find other actors that will tell us what the play is about.
In the history of space exploration, only 3 strangers have ever wandered through our solar system, and 3I Atlas is the newest name, but perhaps the most mysterious one yet. Before this, humanity had encountered Oumuamua and 2I Borisov, 2 rare interstellar objects that set the scientific world ablaze. Now, 3I Atlas has appeared as an unprecedented enigma, forcing everyone to stop and look up. From its very orbit, it was clear that 3I Atlas did not belong to the solar system. It moved at a colossal speed, over 130,000 miles per hour on a hyperbolic trajectory, which means it came from outside the galaxy and would never return. The moment NASA and other telescopes confirmed this orbit, everyone understood. This was not an ordinary comet playing a flyby game. It was a traveler between the stars. For scientists, each interstellar object is like a door opening into another universe. It is a natural message, a fragment sent from planetary systems tens or even hundreds of light years away. As it streaks across the sky, it carries the history of some distant place, where it formed, where it was torn away, and the endless journey that finally brought it to the doorstep of our solar system. What does this mean? It means that every observation, every measurement is priceless. Humanity cannot send spacecraft to every distant planetary system, but these interstellar visitors happen to bring samples from beyond. They drift for billions of years, crossing the cold void, only to pass by us in an extremely rare moment. To miss it would mean losing an entire library of information that humanity may never encounter again. That is why, from the very moment 3I Atlas appeared, telescopes all over the world turned toward it. Not only NASA, but international observatories as well, rushed into a race against time. Because they knew clearly this object would only appear once, then vanish into the eternal void. If not seized immediately, humanity would lose the chance to see the secret of a distant world, a secret that has slept within it for millions of years. Picture the scene, an object arriving from afar, never to return, carrying with it strange compounds that natural science had long thought unchangeable. Each new observation left scholars more unsettled. Was this still a natural body, or was there intelligence behind it? unthinkable possibilities such as explosive kilonovae or even traces of an alien civilization were put forward, shaking old concepts of the universe to their core. More importantly, this was not wild speculation. The information came from respected journals and from the world's top telescopes: JWST, Very Large Telescope, SphereX, Hubble. Every data source repeated one clear message: 3I Atlas was unlike any comet we had ever encountered, a truth so serious that it forced humanity to rethink our entire understanding of cosmic chemistry, of our place and our role in the connections between worlds. So the question that arises is, what will 3I Atlas truly reveal to us? Is it simply a drifting fragment from some far-off planetary system, or is it the key to opening a completely new chapter in how humanity understands the universe? Within the layer of gas surrounding the object 3I Atlas, the signal detected a metal that was both familiar and strange: nickel. What truly shocked the scientists was what it released: a stream of pure nickel with no iron at all, a combination that in nature no one had ever seen. In all the comets humanity has ever observed, not a single sample separated nickel alone without iron, because in the process of star formation, nickel and iron usually appear together. When a star explodes, both are thrown out together and carried into later celestial bodies. That is why, when the researchers from the Very Large Telescope observed 3I Atlas and saw only pure nickel, with absolutely no trace of iron, they knew this could not be what we used to understand, and perhaps could not even be natural in the most ordinary sense. Taken directly from the astronomers' notes, this was not an instrument error, but a real signal, etched clearly into the data about the appearance of 3I Atlas. Normally, when you look at a comet, you expect to see carbon monoxide, water, icy dust, not a stream of pure nickel evaporating from its core. This difference is like a radio channel suddenly picking up a signal from a completely different source beyond the universe, and you do not know if it is the wrong frequency or a code sent directly to you. A very serious and chilling question was raised. Is this truly the product of some kind of extreme nature? For example, was it formed under conditions where metals were separated, where water played no role as in normal comets, or shaped by harsh cosmic forces under a rule we had never seen before? Or could this actually be an object created by another intelligence, with intention, with structure, even a message in the form of an alloy sent to humanity? From a serious scientific perspective, the phenomenon of pure nickel without iron is a glaring red flag, signaling that something is breaking apart in our familiar concept of natural comets. Our only limitation at the moment is the tools of observation. Everything appears only through spectra and data. We do not have a sample to test directly, but that does not make the event less mysterious. On the contrary, it is the very vagueness, the inability to grasp it, that makes us unable to look away. For many astronomers, this was not just a small surprise, but a wake-up call. If one interstellar visitor could defy the laws of chemistry as we know them, then how many other rules might be waiting to be overturned? Some researchers even suggested that if nickel can exist in such a pure, iron-free state in deep space, perhaps our models of how stars distribute heavy elements after they die need to be rewritten from the ground up. Others went further, pointing out that such a signal resembles what an engineered material might look like: refined, purified, and left as a marker. The thought may sound unsettling, but it forces science to consider possibilities beyond its comfort zone. In this sense, 3I Atlas is not only a mystery in the sky, it is also a mirror held up to humanity's own limits. It reminds us that even with our most advanced telescopes, we are still scratching the surface of a universe far stranger than we imagined. And maybe, just maybe, it is whispering that we are being watched, or even contacted, in ways too subtle for us to fully comprehend yet. Another discovery continued to fuel the debate about this interstellar object. The gas cloud surrounding 3I Atlas, called the coma, did not resemble any natural comet humanity had ever encountered. The James Webb Space Telescope, a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure marvel, turned its eye toward 3I Atlas in early August. When NASA released the first results, everyone was startled. The ratio of CO2 to water in the coma was as high as 8:1, meaning for every single unit of water, there were 8 units of carbon dioxide. This was the highest CO2/H2O ratio ever recorded in a comet, far surpassing any previous case. This ratio was clearly a chemical shock. Beyond Webb, independent data sources, including scientific journals, also confirmed this anomaly. Even one of the most mysterious aspects, such a high CO2/H2O ratio, led many astronomers to compare it to a comet that, unlike most natural ones which drink water more than gas, seemed to be thirsty for water yet drowning in CO2. This led to a persistent question. The object did not seem to follow any cosmic chemical law we had ever known. In our familiar universe, comets, especially those born in the solar system, typically contain abundant frozen water. As they approach the sun, the water sublimates, producing the gas and dust halos that define comets. But here, water appeared almost entirely replaced by CO2. Scientists, in a report published on Arxiv, analyzed that the abundance of CO2 might stem from 2 causes. Either 3I Atlas formed in a very special location outside, known as the CO2 ice line in the protoplanetary disk of its parent star, or it possessed a unique insulating shell structure that trapped the water, allowing only carbon dioxide to escape more freely. Imagine a cinematic moment. A comet racing through space, its outer crust sealed like a tight jacket, keeping the inside so insulated that frozen water cannot sublimate, while CO2 streams outward relentlessly, forming a dense plume made almost entirely of gas. That vision, a comet so water-starved that no vapor escapes, shocked astronomers everywhere. And that was not all. Additional observations from the Spherex telescope also revealed a distinctly extended CO2 coma, spanning a radius of several arc-minutes, equivalent to an enormous area in space, while the water presence was severely suppressed. The performance of 3I Atlas seemed to flip the entire book on comets upside down. What had once been considered ironclad, that water was the main component and CO2 merely secondary, was now completely reversed. This object appeared to defy the very cosmic rules we had long trusted. So then, an obvious question emerged. Can this even be called a comet anymore? Can we still give it that name if it lacks water, the element traditionally defining the very essence of a comet? More importantly, this touched the very core of the whole story. 3I Atlas is unlike anything we have ever known about comets. It forces science to stand before 2 perspectives. Either it is the product of extreme natural conditions humanity has never witnessed, or if not purely natural, then has some hand intervened. An object deliberately engineered, perhaps even a message sent from another civilization? Back in 2017, Oumuamua, the very first interstellar visitor ever recorded, forced the entire world of astronomy to stop in its tracks. No water vapor could be seen, no dust halo was released as it passed close to the sun, unlike every comet before it. Even more serious, it mysteriously accelerated, in a way that could not be explained by gravity or by any familiar physical phenomena. Astronomers coined the phrase non-gravitational acceleration, meaning acceleration not caused by gravity, and recorded it as a massive shock to science. Even without a glow and without any sign of cometary activity, its speed kept rising abnormally. Though many hypotheses were proposed, from jets of sublimating gas to solar radiation pressure acting on small crystals on its surface, Oumuamua remained so puzzling that some Harvard scientists boldly suggested, could it actually be a light sail created by an alien civilization? Then, let us step back and look at our own Earth. Nickel meteorites are among the rare gifts the universe has dropped on this planet. In geological history, many such meteorite fragments have been found, containing nickel-iron alloys. These objects are not only cosmic time capsules, but also clues to the structure of planetary cores from the earliest eras. Scientists have used them to reconstruct the formation of Earth's core, its layered structure, and the stellar explosions that produced such materials. Some special examples, like the Nantan meteorite that fell in China, first identified in 1958, contained up to about 6% nickel in its iron-nickel alloy. Leads to a chilling open question. Is 3I Atlas simply another link in that chain of mysteries? Not a comet, yet it accelerated. Not a falling meteorite, yet it carried metal signatures unlike anything we knew. Precedented anomalies. Perhaps the international astronomical community and the global public had already opened this strange chapter with Oumuamua, only to be pulled deeper when the second visitor arrived. 2I Borisov, a true comet, but one that came from faraway space, with a structure and composition starkly different from any comet in our solar system. And now comes 3I Atlas, not just another oddity, but the heavyweight of enigmas. An interstellar object bearing unheard-of metal alloys and saturated only with CO2, we forget that 3I Atlas stands on the shoulders of those earlier strangers that had already shaken science. This is not just the story of a spectacular astronomical phenomenon, but undeniable proof that the universe does not follow the rules we once learned. Sometimes it tests the limits of our understanding, forcing science to start over, step by step. There are moments when things we thought belonged only in science fiction actually unfold in outer space, etched forever into humanity's memory. And that is why, when we recall the mystery of Oumuamua, when we remember the nickel meteorites that rattled the world of geology, we are even more convinced that 3I Atlas is not merely an object from outside the solar system, it is the next movement in a cosmic symphony, of which science has only heard a few opening notes. Is 3I Atlas the newest piece that continues these other mysteries? Or is it a weapon, a message, sent by the invisible universe to make us stop believing that we already understand it all? Imagine an explosion so massive it could shatter every familiar law of physics. That is what a kilonova or an asymmetric supernova represents. Astronomers have recorded such events. When two neutron stars collide, they erupt, hurling vast amounts of heavy material into the cosmos. In just moments, metallic elements are forged under conditions that science on Earth can only imagine. Some researchers suggest that 3I Atlas could very well be the leftover result of such a brutal cosmic process. They argue that only in these hyper-explosive environments could metal compounds like pure nickel, separated from iron, be produced, along with an overwhelming dominance of CO2 over water, an almost unbelievable combination. However, even if we attribute everything to a natural origin, then nature here must be of a kind never before seen. The kilonova or asymmetric supernova hypothesis is worth considering. Yet when compared to actual data from modern telescopes like James Webb and Very Large Telescope, these models still fail to fully explain all the details. For example, observations from JWST confirm that 3I Atlas contains 8 times more CO2 than water, an extreme level never seen in any comet, whether from the solar system or interstellar space. Spherics supported this data, suggesting the cause might be a thermal insulating shell that traps water, or that the object formed near the so-called CO2 snowline in the protoplanetary disk of its parent star. but we have never observed any comet that carried such a composition right from the start, even before solar radiation began to switch on its ice. Another point is that if its origin were truly a kilonova, we would need a clear mechanism to explain how metals like nickel could be cleanly separated from iron while simultaneously producing a thick CO2 ice structure that overrides water. Yet so far, no simulation model has matched this data completely. Very Large Telescope's observations of 3I Atlas also recorded pure nickel and rising cyanide gas as the object approached the Sun, while iron was almost completely absent. Once again, this was the signature of stubborn nickel atoms re-emerging in the coma, even after other ices and organics had already evaporated. Adding to this, the never-before-seen nature hypothesis is leaning into something increasingly difficult to explain. If this is nature, then it is a form of nature modern science had never anticipated. Not a typical kilonova, not a supernova by traditional models. A new kind of nature, so extreme that experts have had to admit we are standing before something we have never experienced. A cinematic imagination, a fragment of the universe torn free after a catastrophic kilonova, carrying pure nickel, traveling endlessly until now, drifting past the solar system as a frozen giant of gas and ice. A comet where water is nearly drowned out, CO2 rises to dominance, and nickel glimmers alone in the morning light. All of it enough to leave us stunned. And so, the story is not simply about choosing one hypothesis, but rather asking, is 3I Atlas an extreme natural phenomenon, one so radical it bends all old concepts? Or is it the universe's way of sending us a reminder? Nature does not always follow the rules written in textbooks. Sometimes it paints a picture that is real, yet entirely beyond human imagination. That is the very core of why watching 3I Atlas is not just pure science. It is a journey to the frontier of knowledge, where anything deemed impossible still remains possible, if only you have the courage to look. Professor Avi Loeb of Harvard University, the same figure who once dared to call Oumuamua a light sail created by aliens, has now put forward an even more shocking hypothesis. 3I Atlas could be a technological object, perhaps even a spacecraft powered by nuclear energy, glowing by its own design. This was not something he claimed without basis. The strange light reflecting ahead of the object, instead of a dust tail like ordinary comets, led him to believe that the source of illumination might not come from reflected sunlight at all, but from an internal energy source. In an article on Medium, Loeb did not hesitate to say, if this truly is a manufactured object, then we are holding the key to exploring the universe beyond Earth, rather than just obsessing over conflicts here at home. And in a statement that left no room for doubt, he declared, the hypothesis of an artificial object must always be considered if every natural theory fails to explain the data. Even science journalists could not ignore this. Fox News quoted Loeb bluntly, suggesting that if it cannot be explained by normal reflection, then it very well might be a nuclear-powered spacecraft with dust clinging to its surface as residue from its interstellar journey. The speculation grew louder when the entire U.S. Congress began to take notice, as Loeb and Representative Anna Paulina Luna urged NASA to redirect the Juno spacecraft closer to 3I Atlas as it approached Jupiter. Why? Because of a possibility, remote but impossible to ignore, that if this is indeed a technological object, close-up observation could reveal what the universe may be quietly sending our way. And the speculation did not stop at the presence of another civilization. One article went even further, suggesting a dramatic scenario, that this could be a device crafted by an advanced alien intelligence for reconnaissance, perhaps even with hostile intent, despite its current graceful, seemingly harmless flyby. Ideas that once sounded like pure science fiction are now being placed on the scales of scientific debate. Loeb calls this an educational exercise to open new ways of thinking, The scientific community, meanwhile, is split, some skeptical, others intrigued. And here lies the tension that makes the story so gripping. If a civilization can send out signals in the form of a technological object like 3I Atlas, then its appearance is not a random coincidence. It could be a cosmic business card, a chemical message, or a quiet knock on the sky declaring, "We are here." And now the last question is for you. If a civilization scattered traces of its existence in the form of a wandering planet-like object such as 3I Atlas, do you think that could be their greeting, or just a strange natural phenomenon? And then, as 3I Atlas slipped out of sight, it left behind not only a streak of light in the sky, but also a fracture in the imagination of humankind. The object shattered every familiar concept of comets, of cosmic matter, and even of our place in the vastness of space. If the natural hypothesis is correct, then 3I Atlas stands as proof that the universe still holds countless formulas never written in any textbook. The pages of physics and cosmic chemistry may have to be rewritten to include an entirely new chapter, that there are places, there are processes capable of creating matter in ways humanity has never thought possible. But if the artificial hypothesis is correct, then the story is even more astonishing. 3I Atlas would not just be a wandering object, but a message, a business card from another civilization. It could be the very first evidence that we are truly not alone. And if that is the case, then our view of the sky will never be the same again. Is this interstellar object a miracle of nature or the trace of an intelligence beyond Earth? The answer may not be clear today, but the journey to uncover the truth has already begun, and it will not stop. So what about you? What do you think 3I Atlas really is? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you can join MindGap in exploring the next secrets the universe is preparing to reveal.